So growing up in London, specifically, okay, the thing about music in London is you do split it up into like the different parts of London. So historically, music that has grown very popular in the UK tends to come from artists that have grown up in South London and East London. And I think a lot of that is tied to how, I think a lot of, let's say, immigrant families that have come to the country, Black people, ethnic, just any different ethnicity that aren't particularly British, they tend to move to the South and the East. And I think because there's that culture and that melting pot there, and there's like almost a tension because there is so much brewing energies, that has sparked so many styles of music. Now, I was raised outside of all of that. I was actually raised in North London where nothing happens. Literally, there's no, well, people, obviously there's going to be people that can make music that have come out of here, but historically, North London isn't the culture hub in the UK. It's not that. I understand why my mum decided that we should bring us up in North London because it's really quiet, aka safe. And like that meant, I think for me, I started making music when I was about 11, but I knew I wanted to make music when I was about 8 years old. And because there was so much peace, I think it was very easy for me to get bored. I think it was that, like, I was a kid that usually at that time in the UK, there are things like those youth clubs and like there were under 18s parties and stuff like that, which I was just not going to because I was so far away and too young to do those kind of journeys at whatever time and stuff like that. So I was always curious. I could see what was happening on TV and I could hear what was happening on the radio, knowing that it was just a little bit too far away for me to reach. So then I just thought I wanted to teach myself how to produce. And I liked singing, but I was terrible at singing when I was that young. And like, because I didn't have control over this voice, like I've got quite an interesting like thing going on. I don't know. I can't describe it. No one's ever explained to me why my voice is this way. But like, I had to get control over it. I knew I wanted to write because it's just me and my younger brother. He doesn't do music, but we just had like this thing where we just make little jingles when we were younger, maybe like 7 or 8. Then I took it a little bit more seriously when I got to 11. Started teaching myself how to make beats and then recording with like stuff I bought from like microphones, like webcam microphones and things like that, recording directly into, I was just making it up as I was going along. Windows Movie Makers, this is on like a Windows 98 PC or something like that. I can't even tell you what it was. Family computer. Just teaching myself how to make music then. And then MySpace came around when I was like in my late teens or like early teens. And the good thing about MySpace is it just opened up this like international community that for music especially that didn't exist before that. And then, so then I started collaborating with people, just like sending over MP3s and stuff like that. But it wasn't just people in the UK, it was people internationally. And they were all significantly older than me as well. That's one thing I noticed. Then doing that, putting it online and then bringing it back to school, because also I was in school doing music. It was like doing talent shows and like, then that's when I started going more into South London, because once people started recognizing, okay, I actually do music and I do it for real, then I started hanging out with like kids and just adults actually that were a lot older than me, getting into like parties I was too young to be in, and doing shows where like I was coming in the back so no one was checking my ID and stuff like that, because I was serious about this. I had a friend who's like one of my best friends ever. She said, I'm your manager. At the time we were like 16 but she was serious about it too. So yeah, we were just like, it was 2 kids and like loads of rappers, because I was like a singer making beats and stuff like that, but all of the rappers were looking for people to sing on hooks. So that was the one thing that really got me in the door with music, is that I'd meet this like 20-something-year-old, 30-year-old rapper as a 16-year-old. He's like, yeah, this needs a chorus, put the chorus on it. I recorded the chorus, and then before I know it, I'm hanging around with like a group of 30, 40-year-old men in a studio. Like, how did I get here? But I guess this is the music industry. And like, that's kind of like how the experience was for me starting music. In terms of fusion, like I'm always, again, I think I have to go back to when I was a dancer and wanting to kind of DJ as well. I just wanted to consume everything musically. And I think, again, I have to thank being in London, because it is such a melting pot of cultures. I grew up listening to, because my neighbors, I grew up in a predominantly Asian, specifically Indian area, listening to Indian music and hearing it, like, not Indian music through the eyes of Hollywood / Bollywood. It was Indian music as in actual people singing, and hearing tapes from the 80s and stuff like that. So I don't know, I became versed in so many different styles of music. Also, I grew up in the LimeWire era, where like people were just ripping and illegally downloading music, and I had everything at that time as a kid. Obviously, when you're like 13, 14, and you figure you can get every song online, I started listening to everything, and that's actually how I ended up discovering Erykah Badu and D'Angelo. It was like a stumbling across neo soul from I don't even know how, some Google search or something, and I was just like, well, I guess I have LimeWire up, I'm going to download it, falling in love with it then. And then the UK has its own culture. It has grime music, it had garage back then, it has dubstep, it has so many. Now it's got an Afrobeat fusion, which is kind of like, it's Afrobeat, Nigerian and West African music, meets like dancehall, and dancehall and Caribbean music, but specifically it's like it's been formulated through like a UK lens. And growing up with and funky house, the UK created so many genres that I don't know how far they've gotten out of the UK, but we live in our own thing. We have our own music, we have our own sound, and it's reflective of like the history of this place, specifically being second generation immigrants to this country. So our parents coming from West Africa and the Caribbean to the UK, it is listening to the music that they brought here, but knowing that we're all English speaking, we have British accents, but like when we go home, our families are like speaking different languages and stuff like that. That created a genre of music, and it's created so many genres of music that. And then when I go on and I watched MTV Bass, because that was my favorite channel, then it was pure R&B. So I'm seeing Joe, I'm seeing John B, I'm seeing Maxwell, I'm seeing those guys on the TV. But then when I go to school, people are rapping at 140 BPM beats. That's grime music, and like there's a particular flow and a look, and there's a way that you dress when you're from London and stuff like that. And like so much of the culture is to fuse things together, because we're all different, but we're all in the same place. It's one thing I love about being in London is my best friends are Asian and African and Australian, and everywhere from different continents. All of our friendship groups, we all look completely different, and our families speak different languages and stuff like that. We all listen to different music and we put it together. So like, it's just part of the culture here to fuse things. But like you were saying about purists, some people don't want they don't want to hear like a Bhangra beat on top of hip hop. Other than, I say that, but then Timbaland's done that quite a lot. There's a lot of producers have done it in terms of sampling and stuff like that. But for it to come from a place where I just happen to be collaborating with my Indian friend or something like that, that I love. I love when things like that happen. I've worked with a lot of singers that speak different languages, and like say my friend Demi Ma, who speaks she's Zulu. She's from South Africa, and like when they talk, they have the click. They literally, she does the click when she talks, and she puts it in the songs. I'm like, it is amazing to me to be able to sit here and write a song with my friend, and she's speaking a language that for me I can't even get my head around, like why and how they do that. But it makes for a beautiful song. So